The original 90s pilot to the 2007 cartoon Super Why was found today, after being presumed to be lost, and it's vastly different than the show that eventually came to be. Super Why captured the hearts and imaginations of millions of kids, as he joined the characters on exciting adventures in Storybrooke Village. And finally, after all these years, we finally have the pilot episode. The most notable difference between the pilot and the show we saw lies in the animation style. Unlike the CGI animation that we were given, the original pilot is a delightful piece of stop motion. The characters came to life in a charming and endearing way, reminiscent of classic kids shows. We need more stop motion animation, it's a dying art form. Chicken Run 2 is coming out soon, so hopefully if that succeeds we'll be seeing a return to that animation style. There's some hints at the series we came to know in this pilot, most notably the dog plushie, which I presume is an early iteration of the beloved Woofster, the dictionary dog introduced later in the show. There is something wonderful about this pilot. I'm not sure if it's the vibe of the stop motion or if it's the music. The music, by the way, is brilliant. There's this reggae score that just feels so 90s and carefree. It's very different to the more polished and refined soundtrack we came to know in the televised version. The character's quite different, but some of the elements are still there, like us seeing the character on a shelf in between books. It just feels very 90s. I hate to sound like a boomer, but look at this. Just a weird purple thing having fun, not a cell phone in sight. Now, with this discovery came a lot of discussion on Twitter about whether or not this actually constitutes lost media. While the term is often being used to refer to media that is difficult to find or access, it's sort of become like an umbrella term, encompassing various things. True lost media rarely consists of treasures that have been irretrievably lost to time, like the wiped episodes of Doctor Who or the film London After Midnight. In contrast, the original Super Why pilot, although considered to be lost, actually just resurfaced after years of being held behind closed doors. There are different kinds of lost. You can get the kind that's actually missing, or something that's just tucked away in the archives of a private collector. But as far as I'm concerned, this is lost media because we didn't have it for the longest time and now it's public. I'm going to include the link to the pilot on archive.org if you want to go and watch it in full after I'm done talking about it. The link will be in the description. But first, let's rewind that clock and travel back to the early days of Super Why, where the story began with the creator Angela Santamiro's master thesis. You see, before the show became a household name, it was nothing more than a passion project. Santamiro had no idea that she was laying the foundation for a future kids TV hit. Super Why was initially conceived as a stop-motion show, but despite its charm, the pilot was met with a negative reception, and it was rejected. The decision makers in the industry simply didn't like it, and consequently, we didn't see it adapted for TV for another 7 years. The original pilot, once full of promise, was left behind, with the stop motion being abandoned in favour of CGI, which had come on a long way since 1999 when this pilot was made. People have been looking for it ever since, but over the years a few bits and pieces were found. One of the early discoveries was the unused theme song of the pilot. These musical gems, although slightly different from the final version that aired, provides us with a tantalizing glimpse into the original vision for the show. These theme songs found their way onto the internet a few years ago, but like I said, it was only a tease. The production company behind the show, Cup of Coffee Animations, had an old website which had 2 clips from the pilot, named Opening Shot and Willa Blows. These clips provided a brief but captivating glimpse into the world of stop motion, and this was all that we could see from the pilot for the longest time. But then, in 2021, an audio recording of the pilot was discovered at a library. A YouTuber named PDog64 shared it with the world, uploading it to YouTube. This was a huge step, as while we couldn't see the stop motion animation, we could imagine it, and people stepped up and attempted to animate what they believed the action would have looked like. But from there we didn't get much more. Many videos that you can see on YouTube now covering the subject all conclude with how the search is over and it's unlikely that the full pilot would ever be found. Now, this pilot would never have been found without two YouTubers named The Old Washington Resident and Melody. They played Sherlock and continued the search for this lost pilot, despite the fact that everyone else had long since given up on it. Their investigation led them to the Annecy Film Festival, a prestigious event celebrating the art of animation. They believed that the festival might hold the key to unlocking the mystery surrounding this lost pilot, so they reached out to them, hoping that they could lead them to it. Their determination caught the attention of someone by the name of Yves, who helped work on putting the festival together. Together with the Discord user Strawberry Milk, they took the bold step of reaching out to him and told him all about how desperate they were to find the missing episode, and he was able to send them a copy from the film festival's records, which is how we have it today. People on Twitter were ecstatic at the discovery of the pilot. People who had grown up watching the TV series as a kid couldn't contain their excitement at the prospect of revisiting the origins of their beloved show. The differences in pacing, storytelling, and character appearances had people discussing the evolution of the show, and it's wonderful to see so much discourse online about this wonderful progression and how it happened. The general consensus is it's much slower pace than the series we know, which is probably due to it being a pilot. It was a proof of concept rather than an episode that was meant to be released and seen by kids. I love that we finally have the pilot after all this time. It is a piece of television history and a huge win for fans of Lost Media. I just want to say a massive well done and congratulations to the team who worked so hard on reuniting us with it. I loved watching it and I've really enjoyed everyone's reaction to it. It truly has made my day. The Lost Media community has been truly on a roll the past 2 years. They recently found that episode of Sesame Street with the witch from Wizard of Oz that we was pretty certain was gone for good. There are other pilots that were missing. The Roly Poly Oly pilot or the 1983 pilot of Thomas the Tank Engine. Those two have been missing for years. We want to have all the pilot episodes. It's important to know where a show started, and it's pretty sad when we lose pieces of history like this. I love how there's people out there so dedicated to restoring lost history. Strawberry Milk, The Old Washington Resident, and Melody may as well be Nicolas Cage at this point. Like I said earlier, I can only hope that people in the industry seeing the internet's positive response to the stop motion element and the upcoming release of Chicken Run 2 will mean that we'll be seeing more stop motion animation in the near future. Wallace and Gromit was the reason why I started writing, which is something I do for a living now. There was something about the stop motion of Wallace and Gromit and seeing the extras on the DVD about how it was made that made me want to get into content creation, so in a way, I owe everything to stop motion, which probably makes me a bit biased about all this, but well. What did you think about the pilot episode? Let me know in the comments. Right, I'll let you go. Subscribe if you can, we're trying to make it to 3K, so help us out. It will mean so much to me if we make it there. Right, I'll let you go. Bye.